that. You already got, do you want me to kind of clean them off? You think I mean, it is kind of a small fillet. I don't know if it's too little.
No, that one fillet was perfect.
Perfect, okay. Pretty good for my first cut.
Yeah.
Okay. You see how I did that? I just did the technique works really well for me.
That is what it's all about right there. Good morning. We just got back from Seward last night. It is the next morning and we're processing our salmon. We have 12 absolutely beautiful sockeye salmon. Really excited about this. It's been a long time since we've had fresh salmon. This is the first fishing trip of the year. So we're cleaning these all up. We're getting them filleted and we're setting some eggs aside. Oh my gosh.
No, I just want to show like the, so there's that one. And then there's his little sister, the brother.
That's probably less than half the weight. Crazy. Did you hose that big eye yet or no?
No, actually, I'm not going to use this knife. No, I'll try.
Yeah, that's a big difference right there. A big one and a little one.
You want to grab that knife?
Yep. There's like a little hook right here. Anyway.
Look at the color when he's scraping.
Oh my gosh. Another male.
Whoa. Is that the other big one?
It's a pretty big one, yeah.
Wow. Extremely good looking.
Beautiful. These fish are so red. It is just insane. Every time we go down there, I'm just impressed with the color of these things.
Eccentric, look at that.
They're like fake almost.
Orange. Orangey red, huh? I guess that's where they get the color salmon from.
I'm thinking this is a male.
I think so too.
Yeah, it is. We're saving some roe, which is salmon eggs. How many females did we get? 4 or 3?
3.
1, 2, 3 females. We usually get more, so we're lucky we got that. Arielle's also going on the carcasses with her little ice cream scooper, and she's scooping out what we like to call salmon burger meat. We mince that up, put like an egg in there, some seasonings, and we make salmon burgers. Every time we go out and we catch salmon, we have to decide what we want to do with it. And with this batch, this is the first one of the season, and our freezer is empty. So we're gonna be vacuum packing most of these and saving them for kind of just salmon fillets that are frozen. But we are gonna be doing a couple things fresh with them. And we're getting pretty hungry. We're gonna make some sushi. I've been really getting
Yeah, you've getting right in the background. Yeah, this one's not as orange. I don't like that.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. That's the finished product right there. What we do is 1 fillet per bag. We ended up with 22 bags of sockeye salmon. The freezer's semi-low. It's mostly dog food in there. We have a few bags of veggies that we're going to use to make chicken stock with. And then we've got a lot of hooligan chicken and dog food, but we're gonna get started making our sushi. When we say we're making sushi, it's actually nigiri. We just call it sushi. It is sushi rice with a little seaweed on there and a fresh piece of raw salmon. The sushi rice is extremely easy to make. We use a medium grain rice. The only thing we do different than if you're cooking regular rice is we add a little bit of rice wine vinegar, sugar, and salt. Makes it a little sticky and it easily forms these nice little ovals that we put our fish and our seaweed on. In celebration of this salmon, we're also gonna try something a little bit different today. We're gonna make actual sushi rolls. We don't have a little rolling mat, but we looked up a couple ideas and we're gonna see how it works. But first, I think we need to taste test this.
This is definitely our favorite meal. I know it's Eric's favorite meal, and I'm really, really, really excited. I was having a hard time not flicking one of those out.
It is my favorite food.
Do you want
wasabi.
soy sauce? Do you want soy sauce in there?
Soy sauce. Mmm.
A little salty with the rice, huh? Oh no, that's the soy sauce. Here, I need more wasabi mix in there, huh?
Oh my gosh. Best sushi I've ever had.
Freaking delicious, right?
Oh my gosh.
We actually just finished up like a serious heat wave. We had a period of upper 70s. I don't know if it actually hit 80, but it was hot here for about a week and a half. We have this cooler weather, and I was getting at that this is like a really refreshing, crisp summer, early summer meal.
Oh my gosh, I had way too much wasabi on that bite, but yeah. Fresh sushi, like we said, this is probably our favorite food just in general. It's so good.
Yeah, you made a lot of it, you can tell, so we can eat a lot.
We can eat more, yeah. Oh my gosh, this is good.
I can't stop eating it. It's incredible.
You getting enough soy sauce in there?
No, that salmon's really good. Really, really tender. No.
Oh, way too much wasabi. Woo.
You okay? There's no fishy taste at all with this fish. It's very interesting when it's that fresh, huh?
It almost doesn't have a taste. It just has a texture like cold flesh. I mean, it's
what you just said, huh?
It's insane.
No, really mild.
It's insane.
That's good.
This is the best thing in the world, honestly. Does it get any better than this?
I'll show you before you eat that one second. Cheers. There you go. Now it does. Dang it. It was really good. So tasty.
It actually stayed in a roll, but we got to see if we can cut this thing without it falling apart. Man, it looks good. Let's see, smushed it a little bit. Yeah, that is good.
The rice is freaking delicious, so I really like that. And I have to say, I honestly like the Nigeria a little better because I love the fresh, cold salmon raw right on top. You get a little more flavor that way, but those turned out pretty good.
Make a bunch more to eat. Another platter of sushi. We finished off the rice, but we forgot one thing.
In all our excitement, we forgot about the caviar that we made earlier today. This is from the Sockeye Salmon roe, and it's a little bit of a time-consuming process, but it turns out really awesome. We ended up with 2 jars. You just put hot water on the egg sacs and kind of mix them up. It takes a little while to do it, but you just have to do that several times, rinse them, get rid of the membranes, and then you put cold water with some salt, let it sit for a little bit, probably about 10 minutes, and you end up with awesome caviar.
Salty little bubbles that just burst in your mouth.
Yeah.
They're delicious. Do you want it on top of your sushi?
Sure. Thank you. They almost taste like,
They're so good.
not oily or buttery, but they just have a really good flavor. Fresh, I think.
What do you think? Start with those?
Sure. After the salmon feast, we're going to head back to the woods and get some more ingredients for tomorrow's salmon meal. Do you like the eggs? Oh, those are really good.
Salty. Rich. They're rich. Got a lot of... Here we go.
We made it to our foraging destination, and we are in search of spruce tips today. It's a little bit late. This was a really warm year. Well, it was cold, and then it warmed up really fast. So the spruce tips are pretty much at the end of the harvesting season, so we've got to look for younger ones. These are a good example of what we're after. This is a white spruce tree. We don't have a lot of healthy ones of these left in our area, unfortunately. There's also black spruce, but we're just harvesting from these. What I like to do is I look at the branch and I usually just take like the side actual buds, not this part, the part that extends the furthest out. And I don't take all of the little growing points from one branch, obviously, because this is what is their growing point and this is how they're going to get bigger every year. So we don't want to harvest too much from one plant. So these are the perfect size. They're nice and tiny and compact. When they first start, they have this little papery husk on them, and then that pushes off and they get much, much bigger, and they're not as delicate and tender anymore, so we don't want to pick them then. These are really good for baking and cooking with. The application that we're actually going to be using them, it doesn't matter if they're a little bit further along, but I am going to try to get tinier ones like this. Alaska is just amazing how you have this really long winter and then just everything comes to life in June. So we're getting to mid-June, and this is also the time that the bugs are the worst. So that's why they're swarming me like a water buffalo. This tree behind me, this is a good example of something that's gone too far. You know, this one's doing its thing now. We're not going to interrupt the process. Those are like thick now, like the needles. There's so many plants out here. There's geraniums, lupin, rose bushes. I think I'm seeing wild strawberry, and then there's a bunch of bluebells out here. We're looking to get about 4 cups of these. So we got to keep harvesting. It's quite a bit, maybe like 3.
That's our bone.
It's like the back hip.
Like the hip?
The hip is what that looks like.
Bandit found a snack. Moose bones. Come on. Don't eat that. Let's go. That's a good tree. Look at all that. Those nice tender ones.
Those are gorgeous. They're
Yeah,
huge.
these ones you actually can eat raw, but I don't know. They're not that good. They're really good for baking and cooking with them. They're potent when you eat them raw. Yeah, it's like this one's actually pretty good. Almost like a really sour, citrusy, like lemon peel. That one was actually good. It was so tender. I'm gonna turn around there.
Check that out. Aren't these beautiful? We love that color, so eccentric. We have got these all cleaned and ready to make spruce tip syrup. We just recently ran out of spruce tip syrup from 2 years ago. It's very easy to make. It's delicious. Similar to maple syrup, kind of. Last night we made spruce tip shortbread cookies and these turned out awesome. This is another favorite recipe of ours. We are going to get started on our syrup. So the first step is just to add the spruce tips to a stock pot, and I have 4 cups exactly. There we go. And I have 2 cups of water to add to this. We'll see if that's enough. We may have to add a little more. I'm gonna add about 1 more cup of water. That's perfect. I don't want them to be sitting on the bottom. I wanna make sure there's a good amount of water in there. I'm gonna turn this on and we're gonna bring it up to a simmer. We have to let this cook, not necessarily cook, but simmer for about half an hour, maybe an hour. We're gonna be extracting all of that flavor from the spruce tips into the water. That smells great. This has been going for a little bit under an hour and we're gonna call it quits. We're gonna turn off our stove. It is the oddest thing. These spruce tips smell and taste like lemon. That's the best way we can kind of describe it. It just has like this citrusy aroma and it's not that strong, not like sap or something you would think that came out of the woods, but it's just really mild and delicious. The next step is to get this strained. I'm gonna get this pot cleaned out because this is where we are going to be making our syrup. And at this point, you can reuse these for tea or baking, or you could just compost them. Doesn't it smell good? Like,
yeah, let me smell that again. What is
like
that?
a not like a lemonade drink. Kind of like a candle.
It's like you cooked something with lemon. Cooked lemon.
Yeah, I agree with that. We ended up with 3 cups of liquid of spruce tip water, and I added 2 cups of brown sugar. We like to use brown sugar for this recipe. You can use white sugar, but it just turns out so much more earthy and rich this way. So I'm gonna bring this to a simmer, and I have to keep a close eye on it. Probably gonna let it kind of boil down for an hour or so, or just until it gets to the consistency that we want it to be. I'm gonna leave the lid off this time and just keep an eye on the process. All right, this stuff turned out so good. It is way thicker than we made it in the past. We have this lovely jar that I'm going to be putting in the freezer. You can water bath it. We've done that too for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we also have quite a bit left for dinner tonight. the chicken, a carcass, a salmon carcass. They love fish a lot, actually. And I just want to give a little update on the chicks that we had earlier this season. We ended up with 19. We have all of them still. They're various stages of their life. So we've got some that are young still with their mom, and then we have some funny teenagers, or they kind of go through this like ugly duckling looking phase. So that's what they're going through right now. Chickens are good. We are going to head over to the garden and see how that's going. The garden has been doing great this year, better than I could have asked for. We've had strange weather. We had the cooler spring, and then we had that hot weather, and that hot weather was good and bad. So it actually did do a lot of good for the garden. So a lot of these plants are really big, starting off really strong and looking good. This row is the majority of our brassicas, and it looks really good. All these greens are super robust this year. I'm gonna be harvesting some kale for dinner tonight too. Got quite a bit to harvest, huh? These plants are gonna get a lot bigger, so I'm just being, you know, not harvesting too much from them at one time. Ooh, look at that. This is another cabbage row and broccoli and cauliflower that we have. It's looking really good. The garlic did awesome. It's huge. I think we're gonna have a good year with that. This is the row that we have our lettuce and mustards in, and this was actually kind of what I was referring to earlier. That kind of stuff doesn't really like hot weather, especially really early in the season. For the most part, it's doing pretty well, but I imagine we're not gonna have the mustards for that long. Some of them are already starting to bolt, and some of these lettuces, for some reason, they didn't quite take off. I've never had that happen before. I don't know if they're just too dry. Just something's going on with some of them. So some of them are really nice and big. And we're gonna wait a little longer to actually harvest lettuce, because I like to wait until they're their full size, and then we come in and chop them down and eat, you know, a whole head of lettuce. Look at this arugula. Oh my gosh. I know you like arugula. But look at this stuff. What do you think? Let's take one of these down.
Sure.
Let's take a big one down, right? That long. Looks pretty good. Definitely gonna have to start getting out here and making some stir fries. These greens are not gonna last that long. This is tatsoi. It looks awesome. The spinach looks okay. It's probably gonna bolt for sure. But check out that leaf. It's pretty big. That looks really good. Eric planted our cilantro over in our shady corner of the garden where our asparagus is, which is not doing that well, unfortunately. But the cilantro is doing really well, so I'm gonna harvest quite a bit of that for the dinner tonight. And then we need to head into the high tunnel to grab one more herb. Look at that. It's not that big, but it's pretty big. Ooh. Ah. Looks really good in here because I just weeded. And things have been doing really well in here with the extra heat. As long as I get in here and water, I mean, I would say things are off to a really good start in here. This corn's already like 3 feet high. Oh, there's a spider in there. I'm going to be harvesting quite a bit of this. I like to add this to our salad. I saw that on a Charles Dowding video a few years back, and I think it's pretty cool. We're also going to be using it for the fish tonight. And basil is a good thing to prune often if you want it to not flower and you want to keep coming back to get the greens, which I'm sure is what you're after if you're growing basil.
Summertime in Alaska with a fresh, never frozen sockeye salmon fillet. Does it get much better than that? Arielle picked a huge amount of greens, so we're gonna have a big salad. We're gonna have the salmon fillet. We got some homemade balsamic vinaigrette, and we're gonna be using some of the spruce tip syrup that we just made as a glaze for this salmon. This is a huge fillet. We're gonna cook the whole thing. I'm gonna slice it in half, and we're gonna take the skin off of it. Chunks like that. There she goes. So that is whiskey, pepper, and then we have spruce tip salt that we made last year. So a little more spruce tip on these. Perfect. Here it is. That's what we've been waiting for. Oh. That syrup on here, it like crisped up. It's like caramelized. That is so good. Arielle's gonna come in here. We're gonna enjoy one of the best dinners that we could ask for. We'll see you guys next time.
Beautiful. Can you taste the basil at all, or is it just more the?
Where'd my basil go?
Oh no. Oh. I see what you're saying now.
You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I gave the salmon like a crazy flavor.
I would take more of that glaze on there, personally. That was really good.
Isn't that good?
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. Oh, look at this little crispy piece I got left in there.
Really good.
Yeah, I have no idea where my piece of basil went.
Probably went into your...
Maybe I already ate it? I probably ate it already.
Something happened weird.
Yeah, this is really good. Look too. Good job snagging all those fish.
That was delicious.
Isn't that good?
Check that out. Okay.